Wake. I'm here to ask you for your support. Finding honest Native-centered news is not easy, but with your support, we're able to provide accurate information about Standing Rock, Line 3, treaty violations, and COVID-19 in our Native communities. Please visit Native Roots Radio Network on Patreon and donate if you can. That's Native Roots Radio Network on Patreon. Pinigigi, and thank you for your support.
With your AM 950 weather, I'm Brett Johnson. Look for partly cloudy skies tonight with a low around 2, Saturday sunny with a high near 7, and Sunday partly sunny with a high of 2 below. Experience the comfort of Nightingale, your neighborhood bar and restaurant. Enjoy American classics like the famous Nightingale Burger, ginger tamari chicken wings, and duck pastrami Reuben. Open daily 5 p.m. to 1 a.m. with their full menu served until midnight. Takeout also available at nightingalempls.com.
Portions of Native Roots Radio may be pre-recorded.
It's a good day to be indigenous.
Get up, stand up.
They are going to become more brutal.
Because all the hippies were trying to be Indians anyway.
They're going to become more repressive because it's a matter of dollars and their illusionary concepts of power.
Hey, Victor.
We must live in balance with the earth.
And also with recent happenings at Wounded Knee.
I am awake. Welcome to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake, and I'm your host, Wakanja Hade.
It's a good day to be indigenous.
Get up, stand up.
They are going to become more brutal.
Because all
Radio presents I'm Awake, and I'm your host, Wakanja Hade. Hey, Kadagi to all my friends and relatives in 4 directions. You are listening to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake, and I'm your host, Robert Pilot. We discuss local, national, Native news and events, and as you know, Chujunk, Native issues are human issues, and human issues are Native issues.
Yes, you are right, Dega. This portion of the show is supported by JS Bean Factory off Randolph Avenue in St. Paul. Only the good stuff keeps us awake.
Well, yesterday, Haley, I had trouble talking, and I think I'm doing a little better today. So we should have a really groovy segment right here. A lot going on. Hey, you know, I always like talking about this is our 9th season, and I know you've been with us a couple years. How have you liked working on all these Native issues and all these guests we've had over the years?
Oh, my goodness. Well, thank you for asking that. It's been honestly such a pleasure to be on Native Roots Radio, have a platform where we get to amplify so many Native voices, not only in the Twin Cities area, but in all of like our 11 tribal areas in the state and around Turtle Island. And I've learned so much and been able to connect with a lot of different organizations and use a lot of the resources as well, just by learning from this show and be able to connect more to my culture and more to my self-identity as well. So it's been a great journey, and I'm happy we're on our 9th season. Let's make it to the 10th one.
Yeah, that's a good goal. I like goals. That's a good goal. Yeah, it's great to have you on. I've had a great line of producers, and you are definitely right up there with the top 3. No, I'm just kidding.
Oh, Dega. Well, and it's fun because I get to work with my Dega, with my uncle. And I know like a lot of people may be like, oh, you want to work with your family, but it's like, we didn't know each other our whole lives, or like I didn't, have you around growing up. So this time to be able to talk every day and work together is more than just a job for me too.
Wow, thank you so much. And I feel the exact same way. That was really put well. I feel like though I've known you forever, and that we are a great team here. And as everyone probably knows that listens to the show, Haley produces the show and gets the guests and wrangles me in there and rolls her eyes when I can't read the right question in the right way. We just had that happen a few times this week. I do that just to keep you on your toes.
Yeah, make sure I'm listening for sure.
Yeah,
well, I've had people in community who are like, "Oh, you and your uncle get along so well. You guys are so funny together. You must, have always been that way." And I'm like, "No, I've only known Robert for a few years." And they're like, "Totally can't believe it."
Yeah, well, and that's something to say too, Haley. What I want to embarrass you for a second, but I was looking for a producer, and knew you had the experience from your college days, and I remember it's like, all right, we got Haley here, and I think Zoe was helping you
Yeah, she was.
helping you learn how to produce and
Yeah.
whatnot. And then I remember you drawing the line in the sand saying, "Well, I'm not going to be on air ever." And I
I
was like,
know.
"What?"
I was like,
Okay.
Dega, I don't want to talk. I was like, I don't want to talk, even though it's a talk radio show.
Yeah. Right. You were signing there the first week or so.
I'm like,
No.
just background position. But
Yeah.
no, this is fun.
Yeah, definitely. And you know what you were saying about learning so much. I learned so much because we got to remember it's a double-edged sword here for us in the Twin Cities because we have so many other nations that are represented. We have
Mhm.
78,000 just in the Twin Cities, 78,000 Native Americans from over 110 tribes that are existing here in the Twin Cities, and but we also want to separate ourselves too and not do the pan Indian thing, like, hey, let's have a dream catcher. And it's like, no, dream catchers are for Ojibwe and those things. And so I've learned a lot over the years, and I was glad to hear you say that because I sure the heck have. And we came
Mhm.
in here starting with the fight for clean water with the Standing Rock situation, and that's why we started the show to support Standing Rock and the No Dapple, and it's
Mhm.
just turned into everything. We've had people from reservation dogs on to politicians to vice presidents' husbands to comedians to musicians, and
Yeah.
it's just been I couldn't be more happy with what we do here and how we support our community.
Yeah, and really just amplifying not just, one certain group of natives' perspective, but everyone's. And, that could be like woodland tribes areas, or we could be, the Southwest areas tribes. Like we're all a little different and we have different things, but when we can come together and share our similarities and differences, even though we're all indigenous people, I think that makes us stronger as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And we definitely, you know, I don't know. I'm just really excited because in the other sense too, we're all related. And I was telling my weehaw, Jelaine today that, yeah, we were in New York and we went to this play and it was a one person, one native play. It was this lady telling her story about being Native American and being brought up in an Italian neighborhood in Brooklyn,
Hmm.
and it was really fun. But her daughter introduced her, and her daughter said, "I'm this, that, and ho chunk." And I was like, "Well, ho chunks are everywhere, even out in the East Coast." It was just funny because we all are related.
Yeah. And that's cool about like sharing each other's stories and being able to be in spaces together where we're celebrating Indigenous art and stories and culture. I think that's, it's a great time to be Indigenous. I really think that. And there's really been no better time. And it's kind of like an era where we're celebrating who we are now. We're
Yeah.
celebrating our art and not only for ourselves, but, allies are noticing too. And they're helping us in our issues that we care about as well. And, just with that is more strength in itself.
Right, and it's, not only are we learning, but our listeners are learning, and our white allies are learning, and that's a really good thing because as we talk about all the time, these things that Native Americans deal with is never taught and are rarely taught in school. Hey, I have a quick question. I know we have like a minute or so left.
Mhm.
There's a big group of people, Native Americans, that are on TikTok, and
Oh, yeah.
we're going to have a guest on in a week or so that has some really great things that he says on TikTok, a young warrior. But there's a native side of TikTok that is going to be really missed. And it is a lot of education. It is, at one time, 1 minute, 90 seconds, and then now 3 minutes of video and content out there. And I'm going to miss that. And I watched my TikToks of certain authors and certain Native Americans, people that are falling. And I know the Supreme Court just came up with, supporting the getting rid of TikTok. And so that's kind of a sad deal because I feel like, Facebook and Google and all those other people are spying on you too. So I don't know. How do you feel about
Hmm.
TikTok leaving?
I don't know. I don't know how fast or quickly it's going to go away. I kind of heard that they were going to stop updating it and it'll kind of glitch out and disappear from there. But one thing I saw on Facebook, which is kind of ironic, someone said TikTok should be available on reservations since we are sovereign nations. And I kind of thought, well, that would make sense, right?
Yeah, if it worked that way, if we really were, sovereign, and so we are a sovereign nation, but we aren't treated that way in many times, and so that's a
Mhm.
good point, but it's also, I don't know, it's pretty gray zone for
Yeah.
the governments, and especially with the new president being brought on, we're going to be
Mm.
not worrying about TikTok so much, but worrying about our sovereignty.
Yeah, for real. That's a good point.
Yeah. So, hey, shout out to everybody. Hey, this is Native Roots Radio, and we'll be right back after this short break. Stay with us. Wanda
Oh,
said,
what?
stay with us. Hoa. I heard sex trafficking happens a lot in Indian country. What is that?
Here are some of the real reasons why sex trafficking happens in Indian country. Unequal gender roles that were forced on us by colonization. Communities don't have enough resources. Silence around domestic and sexual violence. Lack of attention and justice for missing and murdered Indigenous people. There's a lot of behavior that keeps our communities out of balance. These are just a few true reasons why Native communities are targeted by traffickers. When these acts of violence happen in our communities, it opens us all up for exploitation.
Sponsored by the Minnesota Indian Women's Sexual Assault Coalition.
Even though we're already into 2025, it's always the right time to support AM 950. The AM 950 2025 calendar is here, featuring photos I took around Minnesota and important progressive dates. Members that sign up for a one-time $30 membership will receive a 2025 AM 950 calendar as a thank you. Make a one-time $100 donation. You get the AM 950 calendar and a signed copy of Tom Hartman's latest book as a thank you. Hurry, the thank yous are running low. Go to am950radio.com for details on the membership. Thank you so much for supporting AM 950, the progressive voice of Minnesota.
Spring and summer is the right time to install your fireplace. Find your perfect fireplace and have it installed and ready before the cold weather hits again. If you already have a wood fireplace, consider a fireplace insert or check out the entire selection at Woodland Stoves and Fireplaces on East Franklin and Riverside in Minneapolis. It will transform your inefficient fireplace into a reliable, environmentally smart heating system.
This is Peter Solak, owner of Woodland Stoves and Fireplaces. Have you ever watched your dog or cat curl up in front of a fire? It's primordial, the way it touches both the animal and the human. We know that fire reaches deep into the heart and soul. Let us show you how. We have over 35 working units on display here in Minneapolis. We are located at the east end of Riverside Avenue at 2901 East Franklin. From I-94, take the Riverside Avenue exit. Find us also online at woodlandstoves.com. Let us help you make a fireplace part of your life.
Woodland Stoves and Fireplaces, out of the ordinary products and services since 1977.
I'm Lieutenant Governor Peggy Flanagan, and you are listening to Native Roots Radio.
Welcome back to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake, and this is Robert Pilot.
This portion of the show is supported by Native American Community Clinic on Franklin Avenue in Minneapolis, honoring health and tradition. Hey, it's producer Haley here, just checking in before our weekly update from Minnesota State Senator Mary Kunesh. I want to shout out NAC, one of our great sponsors. They will be closed Monday, January 20th in observation of Martin Luther King Day, as well as Little Earth Residents Association will also be closed on January 20th. As well as the Minneapolis American Indian Center, and they will be reopening on the 21st, following on Tuesday. I would double check a lot of other organizations and places that may be observing that day as well, and will not have their usual hours. Up next here, we have part one update from Minnesota State Senator Mary Kunesh as they start their session of 2025 here in the Minnesota State Legislature the first week. Let's hear how it went. Here's Mary Kunesh.
Mitakiape. It is State Senator Mary Kunesh from Minnesota here. I represent the District of 39, which are the communities of St. Anthony Village, New Brighton, Columbia Heights and Hilltop, Spring Lake Park, and Fridley. And I can tell you we have successfully completed the very first week of the state legislature here in Minnesota. And if you are not paying attention, I'll give you a little rundown, but I think most people have been hearing about the turmoil that we have here at our state capitol when it comes to the legislature. And it really kind of comes down to the closeness of both bodies, the House and the Senate. After this past November election, the Minnesota Senate was successful in retaining the majority of just one person because we had a special election to replace Senator Kelly Morrison, who went on to Congress. And we were fortunate to bring back our very good friend, Ann Johnson Stewart, who served 2 years in the Senate, then was redistricted out, and now is elected back into the Minnesota Senate. So we welcome Senator Ann Johnson Stewart back to the Senate. In the House, it's a little bit different because by the end of the election, it was a tie for Democrats and Republicans. But unfortunately, there was a question around residency of one of the Democrats, and that was he was found to not be a legitimate resident of the district he was elected to, so he stepped down. We also have the question of, well, we don't have the question of it, but GOP has the question of the legitimacy of the election with Representative Tepke down in the Shakopee area. He won, and then there were a number of 20 ballots that were thrown away, and they were retrieved successfully, and it was determined that he was indeed the winner. The GOP says no, he was not, and they are calling for a special election in that seat. So in the meantime, the Senate has negotiated a leadership sharing plan until we can replace the Senate member for District 60, our very, very dear Senator Carrie Dietzig, passed away in December, and we are now in the midst of a special election. This past week, there was a primary election in Northeast Minneapolis, and from that primary, Democrat Doran Clark was successful in receiving the most votes, so he will go on to the special election on January 28th. And then, in the Republicans, Abigail Walters also prevailed. So those two will go into a special election on January 28th. It is a strong Democrat district, Northeast Minneapolis, a wonderful community built on the backs of immigrants who came over to the Twin Cities and worked in the flour mills, in the factories, in building Minneapolis and St. Paul what they are today. And it still continues to be a strong community of ethnic cultures and community members, as well as a really strong blue collar kind of community. And so we really mourn the passing of Senator Carrie Dietzig, but look forward to hopefully bringing back the majority in the Senate as Democrats. And as I said, the Democrats were able to negotiate a power sharing agreement with between the Democrats and the Republicans, and I really have to tip my hat to our leader, Aaron Murphy, and our senior members in our caucus who worked so hard to negotiate with our GOP members. The GOP members came to the negotiating table in good faith with the shared I guess the shared goal of being able to represent our caucuses, whether they're GOP or Democrat in the Minnesota Senate. And so we've been able to begin our session in the Senate co-sharing a lot of the decision making, and especially within our committees. So, for example, I am the chair of Education Finance. I've been the chair for the last 2 years, and I will be co-chairing with GOP member Senator Rarick. And we've worked out a very amenable schedule where I will chair one hearing, and the next hearing will be Senator Rarick, and we'll go back and forth. We talked about the bills that we'd like to bring forward and came up with a really good agreement. So I'm actually looking forward to this exercise in collaboration and co-governing, basically. I mean, I don't know when I've ever had this kind of an experience. I don't know that any other legislator, unless you were a legislator back in the 1970s, had this opportunity. But in the Senate, we are very much determined to ensure that we can do the work for the country, or for the state, for our communities, for our caucus as well. It's a different story over in the Minnesota House. So right now there's actually a court hearing that our state Supreme Court is hearing, because when Secretary of State Steve Simon went into the House to open up the session for the House, you have to have a quorum. And it was determined that the quorum, it did not meet the level of quorum. And so he said that, and I'm talking about Secretary of State Simon, he said that he is still the presiding officer in the Minnesota House, even though our GOP House members elected their leader, Lisa Demuth, to the position. And he asked the court to back his position that 68 members are needed for a quorum, as it is in the Constitution. And without that 68-member quorum, they cannot conduct any official business in the House chamber. He said that, again, Secretary Steve Simon reminds us that the House lacked the constitutionality that is required for quorum on January 14th, and therefore Representative Demuth has not properly been elected to the Speaker, and the House cannot transact business. And so our Democrat House members are basically not showing up because they recognize that quorum was not met. And they are working diligently and hard in their own districts and across the state to work with their constituents and the people that have issues they'd like to bring forward. And until the hearing from the Supreme Court, I think that'll come on Tuesday, is cited, our House members, DFL House members, are working outside of the complex, while the GOP members are basically unauthorized, trying to get some things done. So it is a very, quote unquote, interesting time in the Minnesota legislatures, and I'm confident we'll sort it out. It's really important that we meet the needs of our communities, and every single one of us take our election certificate very seriously. And so we will continue that work, and I can share a little bit more. I think we have to take a break right now, but I'll be back in just a few minutes.
Mary, you're a pro, and thank you for those words and your work in Minnesota leaders. You're listening to Native Roots Radio, and we'll be right back after this short break. Stay with us.
We are Calusa Nation.
Minnesota has the only original wolf population in the continental United States.
And 80% of Minnesotans believe the wolf should be protected.
Howling for Wolves is asking Minnesotans to respect our true wildlife manager, the wolf.
Their survival is critical to our ecosystems, our communities, and even our economy.
As highly intelligent animals with strong social bonds, Minnesota wolves deserve to be protected and admired.
Learn more at howlingforwolves.org. Let's live and let howl.
Howl! Hi, this is Frank Brown of Minuteman Press Uptown with a question for our listeners. How important are business values to you? When you need high-quality digital print, it matters who you work with. You see, Minuteman Uptown is unique. We're one of the only union print shops in Minnesota, providing our team with living wages and benefits. We believe in second chances for justice-impacted individuals who want to contribute to the community, and we are active in local issues. We've been in the streets, standing up for racial, social, and economic justice. At Minuteman Uptown, our mission is to connect all communities through technology-driven print solutions. An example of that mission is when I moved Minuteman Uptown to North Minneapolis. We're invested in this local community, and we help small businesses and local organizations throughout the Twin Cities reach their audiences. Reach out to Minuteman Uptown and partner with a printer that shares your values. Call us today at 612-870-0777 or visit us at mpuptown.com. That's mpuptown.com.
Hi, it's Penny from Nightingale in Minneapolis. Since 2012, we've been your go-to dining spot near 26th and Lyndale in South Minneapolis. Indulge in classics like our scallops, steak tartare, Nightingale burger, and the irresistible chocolate pot de creme. Chef Carrie keeps it fresh with seasonal dishes. We have craft cocktails and curated wines for anyone's taste. And Mondays mean half-price wine bottles. Open daily 5 p.m. to 1 a.m. with the full menu until midnight. Join us at Nightingale where good times and great flavors come together.
Minnesotans are hardy. We don't let snow or ice get in our way. We have places to go, so making sure your vehicle is in prime shape for winter driving is so important. Take your vehicle to Rudy Luther Toyota for all your service needs. I was just there. I got my oil and filters replaced, and they did a complete safety check to make sure my vehicle can tackle winter. And they service all makes and models of vehicles. Head to rudyluthertoyota.com and use their super easy Toyota service schedule to set up your service appointment today. Rudy Luther Toyota on the southeast corner of 394 and 169 in Golden Valley.
You may not think of it, but winter is a great time to take care of those exterior home projects. This is Chad, owner of AM 950 for Snap Construction. Most people wait until the warmer months for their exterior home projects, but labor costs are actually lowest in the winter. And that's true for the contractor I trust, Snap Construction, arguably the most well-reviewed exterior contractor and insulation contractor in the metro. Are you noticing ice dams on your house, or is your furnace constantly running and you're still not comfortable? In addition to your exterior home projects, winter is also a great time to get your insulation checked with a free energy audit from Snap Construction. The average cost to upgrade your insulation is oftentimes less than a new furnace. Plus, there are rebates available from your energy provider when you upgrade your insulation. As always, Snap Construction stands by their work with a lifetime craftsmanship warranty. So don't wait for prices to rise in the warmer months. Get a free estimate now by calling 612-333-SNAP, 612-333-SNAP, or go to snapconstruction.com.
With your AM 950 weather, I'm Brett Johnson. Look for partly cloudy skies tonight with a low around 2, Saturday sunny with a high near 7, and Sunday partly sunny with a high of 2 below. Thanks to everyone who supported AM 950 over the years. To say thanks, we're offering the 2025 AM 950 calendar. Donate $10 monthly or $30 one time to get the calendar, or add Tom Hartman's newest signed book with $25 monthly or $100 one time. Learn more at am950radio.com.
ATNF AM 950, St. Louis Park, Minneapolis, St. Paul.
Hi, this is Representative Sharice Davids from Kansas. I'm Ho Chunk, and you're listening to Native Roots Radio.
And we're back to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake, and this is Robert Pilot.
This portion of the show is supported by Native American Community Development Institute, or NACD, in Minneapolis. We return now with our weekly update from Minnesota State Senator Mary Kunesh.
Hey, I'm back, Senator Mary Kunesh, on this beautiful January 17th day. It's really lovely outside, actually. Unfortunately, there's not much snow, but the temperatures were great. I was out this morning with my granddaughters. They're just 2 and 3 years old. We hung some bird feeder things that we made with peanut butter and seeds in the trees, and then walked around with their homemade binoculars looking for birds, and it was actually a lovely morning outside. We're all a little bit worn out from that fresh air, but the cold weather is on its way here in Minnesota. And so please, when you are out and about, dress warmly. Don't underestimate the power of the cold out there. And of course, we have many unhoused relatives, which is such a painful thing for all of us to know that anybody, let alone our relatives, are out there and do not have the kind of protections from the cold that we need. One big thing that happened this week that's really important is that the governor's budget recommendations came out for our fiscal years 26-27. And it might be interesting to folks to know that our financial biennium actually begins on July 1st of each year. So this year it will begin on July 1st, 2025, and then it ends on June 30th, 2027. So we have to put together a 2-year budget that is going to balance. That's probably the most important thing, that it is going to balance. We have to get the budget. We have to get agreement from both sides of the aisle. We do not want a government shutdown in any way, shape, or form. And so yesterday, the governor's budget recommendations came out. And I think I haven't been able to get through all of them, but of course, my interest is really around education. But you can actually go through the governor's budget. You know, you can go to mn.gov and search for budget, and it will give you all of the governor's recommendations, whether it's just the general fund or healthcare, all kinds of different things that we as a state finance. And I think it's really important that, you know, all of our constituents really understand what it's like to fund the programs and the services that our state does. You know, we have operating budgets in so many different areas, and some of it is, most of everything is of course afforded through taxes. Some of it income tax, some of it property tax, some of it specialty taxes, that sort of thing. So, for example, the Missing and Murdered Indigenous Women's Task Force gets funding through those license plates, those specialty license plates that we created. So, you know, if you want to understand what the budget really is, I would suggest you go to mn.gov, and when you get it there, just search budget, and you'll be able to see the fiscal year 26-27 governor's recommendations. But, you know, for example, one of the things that I, as I said, was most interested in is around education. As the chair of education finance, teacher of 25 years, it's really important that we continue to make education a priority. And it is probably one of the biggest, if not the biggest, budget that we have in our state. So Governor Walz is looking ahead, and we all realize that it's going to be tighter financially than it has been in the past. I don't know if you remember in 2023, we had $70.7 billion 2-year plan. And of course, that was with a surplus and with dollars that were not spent the year before because we couldn't get an agreement. And so we were able to do some really super incredible things, but a lot of that was just one-time money. And so those one-time dollars don't carry forward, but we still have quite a bit to do. And the governor's budget comes in just under $66 billion, which is kind of phenomenal if you ask me. And so we're looking at the things that we will need to do to make sure that we are not overextending ourselves in those years and putting the pressure on future legislators, but also the way that we are able to fund some of the things that we're doing. One thing I thought was interesting, I have never thought about this, but Governor Walz is proposing an excessive speeding fine or a tax. So if you go 35 miles over the posted limit, it could result in a driver's license revocation. And I know that, and I'm sure you all have heard the news about people that are speeding at incredibly high rates, oftentimes faster than 100 miles an hour. So if this bill goes through, then anything over 35 miles over the posted limit, you'd lose your license. There's also the creation of an online option for driver's license renewal. That means that trip to the licensing bureau would only be every 8 years, and you would need a new photo at that time, and of course have your eyes checked as well. And then there's something for those of you that are drone enthusiasts. Right now, the state law requires commercial drones to be registered at a cost of $20 per drone, and a fee operators say can create a hardship when they're putting on events that might involve hundreds or thousands of drones. And so Governor Walz wants to drop that fee to $2 for commercial drones used for those kind of single day events. And in Indian country, that's kind of important because, we have a lot of our relatives who are watching pipelines and rivers and waterways, all of those kind of things. And we appreciate that. But in education, which is the largest piece of the budget, as I said, it takes up more than 40% of the spending suggestions by the governor. And so Walz is asking for a 3% increase on spending from early ed through grade 12 and a 5% cut to higher ed, which is really tough. That is certainly a huge challenge. He wants schools to tap more of their general education to pay for the growing cost of transporting special education students from home and school and back, which I know has been a real challenge for many, many families and schools, especially in greater Minnesota. Governor Walz is suggesting eliminating Q-Comp, which supports the Alternative Teachers Professional Pay Program that's been around for about 20 years. And what it does, it allows some of the teachers who are participating, have districts that are participating, actually earn a bonus and a stipend for extra professional development or mentoring work. That is going to be a real hard one as we go forward. I'm really interested in hearing more about that. Meaning Walz, wants to add more employees to the Minnesota Department of Education to help identify and stop fraud, waste, and abuse. And he wants to add another $9.5 billion for the Department of Children, Youth, and Families, which is, a new agency that oversees children and family programs. So there's lots in the bill, that includes environmental things, public health and nursing homes. We're looking at, and we all recognize as legislators that we need to tighten our budget. We're pretty pragmatic people and understand that when times are tough, we have to tighten our belt. When things are good, we have an opportunity to do a little bit more. But I know that I will be looking at education finance with a fine-tooth comb to look for savings, as well as ways to bolster and defend some of the things that we've done in the past that our GOP members would like to dismantle. And one of them is the READ Act, the Literacy Act, which is really kind of a horrifying prospect, but we will work through it and we will do the best that we can for Minnesota and the future, because we all know that how important it is to look out for not just our generation in this moment and not just for the next generation, but for the next 7 generations. And that's what I absolutely have been doing and intend to continue. So as I said, it's a cold, cold weekend, Minnesota. The Women's March, the People's March is tomorrow on Saturday. I'll be there at the Capitol. If you can dress warm, come out to the Capitol and support women's rights, the Equal Rights Amendment, and gather for a moment together. Hope you all take care. Stay warm. Wopilatanka, Chimigwich, Pinigigi.
Mary. Yes, everyone stay warm. We've got some really cool temps with like negative 35-degree wind chill coming our way here in Minnesota. So dress warm if you plan on going to the People's March tomorrow on Saturday. This weekend also, January 17th and January 18th, the Gitche Manitou Gizis Great Spirit Moon Powwow 2025 will be at the Black Bear Casino Resort at the Otter Creek Event Center. That'll be 7 p.m. warm-ups on Friday, Saturday, grand entry times of 1 and 7 p.m. The traditional feast will be Saturday at 5. So we'll be right back. You're listening to Native Roots Radio. Up next, we have a new Sacred Animal segment from Wendy. Stay with us.
Nation.
A home that needs new everything. Plus the kitchen sink. Life math is complicated. Affinity Plus makes it easier. With great rates on a home equity line of credit, we make tackling home projects less stressful. Visit affinityplus.org/rates to learn more today. Affinity Plus Federal Credit Union. Insured by NCUA. Equal housing lender.
Chronic diseases, often pervasive and long-lasting, undeniably pose difficult challenges. At Hypercharge Wellness, we recognize the pressing need for integrative solutions that complement medical treatments, ensuring a true holistic approach. We've harnessed physician-directed, evidence-based modalities to promote well-being, symptom alleviation, and improve quality of life for those struggling with chronic conditions, including autoimmune diseases, fibromyalgia, migraine, dementia, and more. Chronic diseases present complex interplay of immunological, genetic, and environmental factors. While managing these conditions, integrating non-invasive evidence-based modalities can offer a significant improvement in one's quality of life. At Hypercharge, we prioritize cutting-edge therapies tailored to target the root cause of these disorders. Experience a free introductory session at Hypercharge Wellness at your convenient locations based in Maple Grove, Eden Prairie, and Woodbury. This is your opportunity to feel the difference for yourself. Call or schedule online for your free introductory session valued at $200 today. Visit hyperchargeclinic.com now. Hypercharge is hope.
Attention event planners and festival organizers. This is Frank Brown from Minuteman Press Uptown, your union print shop partner for your next event. We're here to check items off your list and make your event the talk of the town. From stunning banners and eye-catching signage to programs, tickets, and name badges. We print everything. Get promotional products at prices that let you load up on merch and fill those swag bags. Make your event unforgettable with Minuteman Uptown. Visit us at mpuptown.com.
Hi, I'm Jane Fonda, and you're listening to Native Roots Radio.
And we're back to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake, and this is Robert Pilot.
This portion of the show is supported by Howling for Wolves, protecting wolves for future generations. Ow! And here's Wendy with the new Sacred Animals.
Thank you, Robert. Thank you, Haley. Hey, everybody. My name is Hanaji Hihani. That means cares for them. I was given that name by my Dega Curtis. Curtis goes by Mashke Hanajinga, which means walks on white clouds. I'm a humane policy volunteer leader for the Humane Society of the United States, and I work on animal issues at the local and state level. It's always my pleasure to do that, as always. So I got a lot of things to talk about today. First of all, well, we all know the weather's getting cold. And for the first time the other night, we were getting in the car, Robert and I. We have this neighborhood cat. He comes from across the street. He's a orange cat. He's like super friendly. Like he'll walk right up to you and you can pick him up, and he's really cute. And he has all his tags and his ID and everything on him. So we know where he lives. But it just, I don't know, it makes Robert and I so nervous seeing him cross the street. And, so yesterday he was in the back of our alley. I don't know what he was doing. And then he ran. And then we didn't see him. And Robert and I were going out to the car and we were like, oh my God, is he under the car? Like, what is this cat doing? So I said, it's starting to get cold now. We need to start banging on our hood of the car before we get in it and start it up, because there could be animals in there now, because it's getting so cold at night, right? And the animals, you come in and your car's warm, the engine's warm, and they find a little place to nestle in and get cozy. So we were banging on the hood of the car, and then Robert was like, well, let's check the wheel wells. Maybe he's in the wheel wells. So, So anyway, we're going to start doing that, because who knows? I think we know the name of the cat too. I can't remember it. Robert, if you remember, chime in his name. Anyway, he's got a collar with his name and his address and everything. But we have a lot of neighborhood cats. A lot of people let their cat out wandering around. Most of the cats I see have collars and tags and everything. But I don't know. When I was a kid, all our animals went out. The cats went out. I remember when I was a kid, my grandmother had, I think, 3 dogs at one time. Bootsy, Sam, and Jethro. Yeah, Bootsy, Sam, and Jethro. And she used to just open the door in the morning, let the dogs out, after they ate their breakfast, and they would just run the neighborhood. They just have their doggy lives and their doggy friends. And then I remember my grandmother be like, all right, call the dogs. It's time for them to come in. It's time for them to eat. Call the dogs. And, we would go out on the porch and yell for the dogs, and they'd all come running. I don't know. It's a crazy thing. I'm glad those days are over, because I don't think dogs should be just wandering around, pooping wherever they want, unsupervised, getting hit by cars, getting into trouble. But anyway, enough about that. So we also have squirrels, Robert and I. We call them our squirrels because, they're our squirrels. So years ago, I can't even remember how many years ago, Robert started feeding the squirrels peanuts. He had some salted peanuts left over from a baseball game or something. I don't know. And he threw some out, and it attracted the squirrels. But then I said, they shouldn't really have salted nuts, because salt's not good for them, right? They'll get high blood pressure or whatever. So then we started buying unsalted peanuts in the shell. And we've been doing it for years. And I'm telling you, excuse me, we have so many squirrels in our backyard. Sometimes, there's 12 squirrels. But, and then I felt bad for them in the winter, because, I feel bad for animals. We bought duck houses. They're wood duck houses. We bought them at a store on Robert Street, like a bird store on Robert Street. I got up on the ladder and put it up there, and sure enough, the squirrels made a little home out of it. And when I looked inside, there was leaves and twigs and all kinds of stuff to make a little nest for them. And oh my God, I'm crazy. I was looking up how to insulate them to make them warmer. It gets so cold here. I just feel so bad for them. But you know what? Every morning in the sun, we have southern sun in our backyard. They're out there, eating the, peanuts and seeds and everything that we leave for them. So they survive. But anyway, we have the ducks. We live near a campus, St. Kate's University, here. And I've talked about this before. All the ducks, they just come and they fly over our house. And they eat all the corn. We leave them a whole bunch of corn, and we have like a dish with water in it, and they get that dirty every day. But around the same time, around 4:30 every day, it's like clockwork. There's the squirrels, there's the ducks flying over. Robert just washed his car. Now he's got to wash it again. Anyway, I get a lot of joy just looking out my backyard here. We have, windows, and I have a bird feeder, and we have all kinds of, right now, like dead, I don't know what they're called, milkweed and all kinds of dead wild Minnesotan grown pollinator plants that are dead now. And I was going to pull them out, but I see all the birds eating the seeds out of them. And a woodpecker also comes and eats all the seeds out of it. So anyway, gives me joy to take care of the little wildlife we have in our backyard, and the raccoons that come and the possums that come. Robert, don't think I'm crazy, but I'm going to be setting up that possum house soon. So what we have, I'm going to try to describe it. We have a off the ground garden. So it's like it's off the ground. It stands up. And what I do is I put a tarp over it. And I bungee cord it around so it stays tight around the bottom. And I have an opening so whoever wants to can go underneath there. And then I have a heated mat that's plugged in. And so anybody, a possum, usually I did it for a possum, but anybody, a raccoon or anybody could go in there. And last year I have a picture of a possum sticking his head out of the little opening I made. It's heated in there. It's heated, and I have like a straw so that they could go in there. Because possums, they don't have, they can't keep warm. They can't keep warm. They're warm-blooded, and they're not from around here, so they get frostbite. So you could usually tell how many winters a possum like hung around, because they're like their ears and their tail is frostbite. And honestly, they don't even live that long. And they're really ugly, but they're not friendly, but they are not, they don't bite or anything like that. And they eat like a ton of ticks. So when I see them in the backyard, I'm just happy that they're eating all the ticks so that Wanda doesn't get full of ticks when she goes out there. But anyway, it's my time now. I just bought a new extension cord and a 3-prong, like an extender, whatever. So I'm going to go out there today and plug in the rest of my heating elements because it's supposed to get really cold next week. So anyway, take care of our wildlife, throw a bowl of water out and feed them some cracked corn or some bird seeds. They have a hard winter to go through. So with that, everybody, take it easy, and happy to be here as always.
Thank you, as always, Wendy. And thank you all for listening to Native Roots Radio. Your support means everything to us. We will be back next week. We need to resist, divest, join a group, run for office, vote, and free Leonard Peltier now.